The ultimate tournament of everything.
Welcome to the Tournament of Everything, a show where we pit everything against everything else to figure out which thing is the best thing ever.
That's right. And we do so by writing the names of those things on the back of business cards, taking those business cards to a local establishment, stuffing them inside a fishbowl, and whichever one wins us a free lunch that week will go on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
So most of the time you are 100% wrong and it's a terrible idea. But this time you're 100% wrong, but I love that idea. Who doesn't love a free lunch?
free lunch.
Unfortunately, there's no free lunch tonight, and we will actually be picking things off Wikipedia using a random Wikipedia link generator to figure out which thing will be fighting against which other thing.
All right. Well, I think we should waste no time and get right into it with round one.
In round one, we have Cockleford Marsh against Funeral Formation, a geographic formation in the Northwest Territories in Canada.
We've got two natural elements taking on each other in this, the most natural of competitions, the competition of everything versus everything. Let's see which one will move ahead.
Cockleford Marsh is a biological site of special scientific interest in Gloucestershire. I think that's pronounced Gloucestershire. It lies in the coastal area of outstanding natural beauty. It's a typical example of a spring-line fen meadow habitat, which is common along the coastal scarp and valleys in the areas of landslip.
Yeah, see, I really like this. I like how they refer to it specifically as a site of scientific interest. Generally, just they can tell you broadly, it's fascinating. And they also state that it is in the Cotswold area of outstanding natural beauty. Perfect name for any sort of nature reserve. It's true.
Yeah, we name them here after people. Doesn't really tell you what it is. This is nice. Oh, well, let's name this thing a place of outstanding beauty. Everyone knows that.
100%. Now, if I was going to name its competitor, I would name it something along the lines of geologic formation in the Northwest Territories, preserving fossils back to the Devonian period. That's so old, I've never even heard about it. Paleozoic, spanning 60.3 million years. So a big, significant chunk of time. Looks like we're talking about some rocks that were formed then.
Yeah, it looks like it's a body of rock having a consistent set of physical characteristics that distinguishes it from adjacent bodies of rock. Okay. So it looks like it's a big rock that has a bunch of fossils in it. In Canada.
Yeah. Fossiliferous stratigraphic units. So I'm thinking we've got layers of probably fossilized plant matter for the most part. And that's a guess.
That's a great guess. Fossils or animals? I mean, those are our two choices, right? Or animals or plants. There we go. Better words.
Yeah, pretty much. Unless an alien snuck in there.
Ooh, isn't that what the movie Predator vs. Alien is about?
I don't know, but I think that a Jurassic Park where they would have accidentally, I mean, a T-Rex is scary enough, but can you imagine alien dinosaurs?
No, actually, because dinosaurs are already weird enough.
Well, going back to our good friend with the weird name, Cockleford Marsh, looks like just a beautiful area. Gloucestershire, sounds like a great spot. 3.2 hectares. It's, let's see, unimproved grassland of two types. There's the short grazed limestone grassland and the taller neutral grassland. The former is herb rich, and these include devil's bit scabious, burnet saxifrage, mouse ear, hawkweed, and lady's bedstraw, none of which I've heard of, but all of which have excellent names.
And I think, that's the thing that's going to move it along for me is just the wonderful plants that are located in the Cockleford Marsh. Common spotted orchids, ragged robin, marsh valerian. These things sound like they could be planets, they could be movies, they could be starships for all I know. And I think they're interesting enough that they deserve another look when they get into round 2.
So you're going to lay down your gauntlet for it?
The ultimate
Yes, I am.
tournament of everything.
There we go. We've given him a little more authority. We've given him his own button. Let's see if we live to regret that decision. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, we're going to start this episode with conflict. Because, as you said, there are plants in Cockleford Marsh. But those plants are common cotton grass. They are the ragged robin, But there are also plants, as we've discussed, within the layers of the fossilized rock that forms up funeral formation. It's a deep name. Think of it. It's a formation of dead things. Funeral formation. I think that's awesome. I think that's going to be my next band name, and I think it's going to be my choice to move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
You know what that means?
right off the bat. We have a tiebreaker.
I think the only correct way to settle this would be I will take things from Cockleford Marsh, and you will take things from Funeral Formation, and we will mix them into drinks that we will then share. And the person alive at the end is the winner.
Yeah, I'll take that deal. You've got plants and herbs. It'll basically be a tea, whereas mine will be ground up rocks in hot water.
Oh, I didn't think this through. Can we pick a number between 1 and 1,000 instead?
I suppose so.
Yes. I'll even let you pick first.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to go with the number 408.
Okay, I am going to go with the number 32. And what I'm going to do is I have a button here. When I press it, it gives me one random number between 1 and 1,000. And the number is 560.
And that means that I'm successful funeral formation, stay in formation for the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I thought for sure I had it in the bag.
we were meant to just battle tonight. I think I wouldn't be surprised if every single round ends in a tie. I'm feeling feisty.
Well, that's good to know.
Let's move on to round 2.
It's time for round 2.
In round 2, we have Kiesler, a surname, against Are These Our Children, a American pre-code drama film directed by Wesley Ruggles.
Okay. Are these our children? Are these our competitors? Yes, they are. So let's not waste any time in learning more about them.
So just reading the first couple sentences of Are These Our Children, we are in for a ride. Even looking at the poster, there's a lot of things on fire. There's definitely a question mark at the end that looks like it's hanging on for dear life. This one's going to get rowdy, I think.
Why don't we hit him with a quick summary of the plot? Eddie Brand is a high school student in New York City, the Big Apple, you know. After he loses an oratory contest about the U.S. Constitution, he becomes depressed, leaves his girlfriend Mary, and takes up with Flo and her hardcore friends, in spite of his grandmother's warnings. He and his new crowd of friends get drunk on gin in jazz clubs and dance halls and start robbing strangers for cash. Eddie drops out of school and becomes more and more dependent on liquor.
Oh, don't stop there. One night, Eddie, needing a drink, shoots an old family friend who has refused to sell him a bottle of booze. When Eddie, Nick, and Benny are arrested for the murder, Nick blurts out the truth on the witness stand, and Eddie is given the death penalty, and Nick and Benny given life sentences. So really, a very uplifting, comes from nothing, ends with much story.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of thought that stopping where I stopped would be it. I thought that it was going to turn around.
It got worse.
Apparently, yeah, Eddie Brand, he got on a course and he stayed that course, and I guess it made his parents ask, "Are these our children?" But you know who was pretty certain that it was, are these our children? A good way to know is if they have the same last name as you. And if your last name is Kiesler, then you're going to be particularly interested in the other competitor.
Yeah, it's a surname. Notable people with this surname include Bobby Kiesler, an American football coach, John Kiesler, an American newspaper columnist, and Michael Kiesler, an American judge.
Mhm. Now, there's a few other variations similar to Kiesler, Kessler, and Kessler with two S's in the middle. But the Kiesler variety is, of course, unique to itself.
Now, there's not much here other than what we just read, literally. Those are the three people. That's all it says. But I gotta say that they are probably leading more successful lives than the people in Are These Our Children?
Yes, even though it's just a movie, I've never heard of it. Did it do very well? It's 75 or 83 minutes. Nobody's seen it, so nobody's quite sure.
75 or 83. It's like the two people in charge with taking the time. One left early to go to the bathroom. It's like, I think that's 75, maybe 83, maybe. Who knows? Who's going to watch it? Nobody. Nobody. You're right.
Yeah,
Nobody.
I've never seen anything with flexibility in its length of time.
It's like skipping the last 45 minutes of Citizen Kane when you're like, oh, it's a sled? Okay, cool. I can leave early. Okay. I think I have enough to make a decision. What about you?
Yep, I'm ready. Should we say them both at the exact same time?
Let's do it.
All right, we'll do it on go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Kiesler.
Kiesler.
Yeah.
All right, Kiesler, you are moving on to the next round of
The ultimate turtle jump Anagram.
I can just say, looking at the drafting report for round 3, you are going to love this next matchup. I can tell.
Well, let's not waste any time getting to it because I'm excited. Let's hear that beautiful round 3 tune.
It's time for round 3.
In round 3, we have the 2012 Chicago Bears season against Acrorhabropthica, a species of, you guessed it, everybody, moth.
Oh, yeah. We've got two fated competitors against each other. We've got a complete, I could go on, but I think it'll answer itself before I even have to. So why don't we just go ahead and see what we find out here.
The 2012 Chicago Bears season, for those of you that don't know, the Chicago Bears are an American football team from Chicago, Illinois. They've been around a long time. They really like dancing to the one Super Bowl they've won in the last 37 years. Real proud of that one. Colors are blue and orange. They finished that season 10-6 and did not make the playoffs. And with a record of 10-6, that's actually been surprising the last couple of years. We had some teams that I think were 9-7 make it.
And there it is, folks. He has just revealed himself to be a fan. I most certainly am not, and
you could be. You could be of just this one season.
The Bears would miss the playoffs after the Vikings defeated the Packers, but both of those two teams would go on to make the playoffs. The Chicago Bears left crying at home in cold, cold Chicago. But you know who never really gets cold? That's the moth, Acrorhabropthica, and that's because it's chiefly found in Nigeria.
Now, Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm just excited about its wingspan of 12 millimeters. Forewings are gray, costa's whitish mixed with orange, and pink towards the inner wing surface.
Says the termen is also whitish, suffused with pink and indistinctly spotted with gray, and the hind wings are gray. You know, I guess I never assumed that moths had two pairs of wings, but now that I'm thinking about it, they definitely do.
You know, that's such a beautiful description. I mean, detailed of what this moth looks like. You would have thought they would have added a picture.
Nope. You'd think wrong. A lot of these moths, I have to assume they exist, or there's just some guy making up moth names on Wikipedia and no one's corrected him.
Well,
oh no, hang on. There, at the bottom of this page, there is a web link to tortricid.net, which is basically a moth research website. This thing is for all moths.
Awesome. I am so into that. I'm just gonna say it. Compared to the bears, I love moths. I want, if this was what it came down to, I would want every moth in the world to win before I let the 2012 Chicago Bears season go on to the next round. So I have no qualms with throwing down my vote for the moth in this round of
The ultimate tournament jump Anagram.
Now, while the Bears did not make the playoffs that year, they set a couple important records, and I think we still need to talk about. Okay, they became the first team in NFL history to score a passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, defensive interception return for a touchdown, and a blocked punt return for a touchdown in the same quarter. First team to do that in NFL history. Okay, they became the first team in NFL history to return 5 interceptions for touchdowns in their first 5 games of the season. They became the first team in NFL history to return 7 interceptions for touchdowns in the first 8 games of the season. I mean, those are some pretty impressive stats, even if they did not make the playoffs that year. Now, the question is this season better than a moth that's so notable they don't even have a picture of it?
Is the Bears termen whitish, suffused with pink, and indistinctly spotted with gray?
No, we don't need to call it indistinctly anything because we have photographs, Mike. Photographs.
Well,
We need a
I don't need.
tiebreaker.
You can't turn on your own in the face of all of this evidence.
I cannot. We need to go to a tiebreaker. And I think it's only fair that the tiebreaker is who would win in a fight, a member of the 2012 Bears or one of those moths.
I still think the moth would win. But that being said, I'm picking a number between 1 and 1,000 yet again, and I shall choose the number 500.
Okay, right in the middle. That's good gamesmanship, my friend. I'm going to go with the number 865.
I heard 8. Rob chooses 8.
No,
I picked
865. 865.
Oh, 2 different numbers.
No,
you can only
865, like the compound number.
There's still 2 different numbers.
Okay, here we go. Oh, no, the number was 320. Even in retrospect, they lose.
Yes, and they're used to doing so. 2012 Bears season. As I said, it's no stranger to you. Acra Robotica, you are flying high into the next round of
The ultimate tournament jump Anagram.
I enjoyed that so much.
Can't even pronounce its name. Let's get into round 4.
Round 4.
Normally that music terrifies me, but I'm so upset that a moth beat the 2012 Bears that I'm really just angry still. In round 4, we have Catherine Tasca, a member of the Senate of France, against Toshiro Sasaki, a Japanese author from the early 20th century.
Okay. 2 legitimate contenders. One from France, one from Japan. Let's see which will represent their nation to victory.
Now, Catherine Tasca was born December 13th, 1941, member of the Senate of France representing the Yvelines department from 2014 to 2017. She's a member of the Socialist Party and served as the Senate's vice president. And from 2000 to 2002, she was the Minister of Culture in France.
Daughter of Angelo Tasco, former founding member of the Communist Party of Italy from Piedmont. After expulsion from the Communist Party, Angelo went into exile in France. There he joined the French section of the Workers' International in 1934 and later supported the Vichy regime in the 1940s. So we're talking about a communist socialist in the 1940s. And then she went on to be, let's see, she's still going on to be in the socialist there.
Can you imagine in America now? They're like, you know what? You've been so bad, we're going to banish you to France. And how many Americans are like, okay, cool, thank you. that's good. What do I have to do to be banished to France again?
Yeah. Italy to France. Completely different language, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Great food.
That's true. Now, Toshiro Sasaki, born April 14th, 1900, passed away March 13th, 1933. I actually think one of the other Japanese people we had on here only lived to be 33 as well. I want to say we had that guy who was like a warlord. We got the position at like 7 years old, only lived to be 33 also. But this guy, not that guy. Japanese author in the early 20th century. Most of his works have been published through the Azoro Bunko Project, which is a Japanese digital library.
Absolutely. So that's about all we know, though. Let's see. Yep, we don't even really have a genre.
No, matter of fact, we've read the entirety of both of these Wikipedia pages, however short they may be, but I think that's enough for me. I think I got to give it to Toshiro Sasaki, only because I'm going to hold Catherine Tasca's father against her, because he later supported the Vichy regime, which also sided with the Nazis, and we have a standing rule on this show. Nazis bad. So, Toshiro, you move on.
Yep, I thought I smelled a Nazi, and that's why, Toshiro, I'm doubling down on Rob's vote to move you on to the next round of
The ultimate turtle jump
Nazis stand no chance in this show.
No. I mean, that's the main rule. If you want to succeed, don't be a Nazi.
Yeah, don't be a Nazi. Okay, let's get into round 5.
Round 5.
In round 5, we have Pechjindi Academy, a Muay Thai gym located in Bangkok, against the Norway national football team. Not the team, but their results from 1980 to 1999.
Well, why don't we just peel back the curtain and see exactly how they fared so that we can stack them up against their competitor in this round.
Now, here's a good question. Would somebody who knows Muay Thai be able to beat up somebody who plays soccer? And I think the answer is unequivocally, probably.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so this is like a lot of results. This is results of 20 years of football, soccer to some. Let's go through it here. Were they good?
They were not. They were not.
It looks like they got better.
Okay, yeah. So apparently on this list, green is wins. Oh, 1999. Look at that. Wow. They only lost 1, drawed 2, won the other, I don't know, more than that. Not going to count right now.
That was the best year in their existence.
Mm-hmm. But do they apply sports science to their matches like they do at Pechjindi Academy in Bangkok? I don't know.
Well, I'd imagine that if they did, they would have probably won just a few more games. Now, Muay Thai, As you said, martial arts. It is a combat sport that uses stand-up striking along with various clinching techniques. But in the picture here, I'm seeing a kick. So I'm thinking there's going to be some crossover. Do you think that a soccer player would be a better Muay Thai fighter, or a Muay Thai fighter would be a better soccer player?
Definitely that last one. I think you can sneeze on some soccer players, and then they're going to writhe in agony until somebody walks around with an index card.
Yeah, that flop thing is really not going to help you in a boxing match.
No. Oh, he hurt me. He hurt me. Yeah, that's the point. That's the whole point of this sport. Get up.
Yeah, I think, you know what? Just that mental image alone, I think that's going to do it for me, and I'm going to throw my vote down for Petch Ye Indie Academy for my selection to move on to the next round.
The ultimate turning jump Anagram.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely.
Ring that bell, Petch Yindi Academy, because you're moving on to the next round of
The ultimate turning jump Anagram.
Now, what are we going to do for round 6? Because I know we have a couple contestants here that, depending on how the earlier brackets play out, might be facing off against each other. One is really a Cinderella story, and one is really a David versus Goliath. And I wonder who we're going to have next.
Well, let's just find out, shall we?
There you have it. There is your winner. Round 6.
Ooh, it is the Cinderella story. Okay, so we have Ebenezer Watt's house, a historic home located in Rochester in New York, against the femoral canal, which houses your femoral artery.
Oh, wow. So we've got something that's inside of each of us, an Ebenezer, and we're trying to keep it in. And we've also got the femoral canal, which is trying to keep in our femoral arteries. Let's see which one is able to keep their contents and move on to the next round.
Now, the Ebenezer Watt's house is a historic home in Rochester, New York, built between 1825 and 1827, remodeled in the 1850s, two-story structure with a hipped roof and cupola in the Italianate style. Features a federal-style entrance and interior, the oldest surviving residence in downtown Rochester, hence the, I guess, historic marker.
Yeah, we do have a picture here. I'm going to sum it up for you. Looks like a mid-sized church with a big pointy steeple attached to a big square with a little lookout tower on the top of it. And it's pretty plain looking besides that.
Yeah, now this picture is from 1967, so maybe it's changed from then, but I don't know if that's going to make any difference. The picture is in black and white, and the building is clearly white, so you can get a color picture. It's going to be the same color.
Well, as you mentioned, it was remodeled in the 1850s. This picture harkens back to 1967, so we're seeing it in its form as presented as far as we're aware, as it is to this day.
Now, the femoral canal, is that really in the same form as it is today? And I think the answer for most of us is, I hope so.
Yes, that is something that you maintain. If you wake up and go to sleep in the same day and your femoral canal isn't in a different condition, then it was a pretty good day.
Yeah, you definitely want to keep that one. So in human anatomy of the leg, the femoral sheath has 3 compartments. The lateral compartment contains the femoral artery. The intermediate compartment contains the femoral vein, and the medial and smallest compartment is called the femoral canal. Okay, typo. So it does not contain the femoral artery, but they're next to each other in the femoral sheath.
Okay, but we are talking about compartments. Did you know that our bones have compartments?
I did. I think so, but I may have forgotten it and remembered it right now. That makes me sound smarter than no, but probably no.
Yeah, got all sorts of things inside of it. Let's talk real quick about what's outside of it. The femoral canal is bordered superiorly by the inguinal ligament, posteriorly by the pectineal ligament, medially by the lacunar ligament, and laterally by the femoral vein.
Now, the position of the femoral canal medially to the femoral vein is of physiologic importance. The space of the canal allows for the expansion of the femoral vein when venous return from the lower limbs is increased or when increased intra-abdominal pressure causes a temporary stasis in venous flow. So it's something we need.
Our bodies are so amazing, and this house is so not. That's why I think I've got to just slap my knee and throw it down for the femoral canal.
Don't slap your knee too hard because that's where it is, I think. But I can live without one of these, and it's definitely not the femoral canal. So it's got to move on just for my well-being.
All right, femoral canal. You're going to take a hike into the next round of
The ultimate turtle jump Anagram.
Looking at some of these medical terms and some of these words and languages I don't speak, I definitely have a greater appreciation for people reading the news, but I also notice now more often when they're definitely just sounding something out a little better than we do.
Now, I like in this picture how things are written on the sinews of the muscle. And I like to think that if I were to cut myself open, I would have everything labeled because as I tried to put myself back together, I would find that very helpful.
That's not a hypothesis I think you should test.
Then I shan't. Let's move on to round 7.
Round 7. Round 7. Round 7. Round 7.
In round 7, we have Moonlight Schools, a program of educational offerings for literate adults in Kentucky in the early 1900s, and Al Misma Al Sigara, Saghira, there we go, Saghira, also known as Mimisat Al Harani, a Palestinian Arab village in the Gaza subdistrict.
Okay, 2 communities facing off, one in Palestine, the other in the evening for illiterate adults. Let's find out which one of them will learn the lesson and move on to the next round.
The first Moonlight School was created in September 1911 in Rowan County, Kentucky by Cora Wilson Stewart, then a superintendent in the Rowan County schools. Adults would attend school at night in the buildings where children attended during the day. The school supposedly only operated on moonlit nights so people could get there and home safely, which gave the project its name. That's clever.
Very neat. Yeah. The teachers were asked to volunteer to teach at night, and they also canvassed their districts to see who might need literacy instruction. Now, I'd imagine that pamphlets are not really the way to go to gather people to a literacy program.
Yeah, they walked around and asked people, and since there were no school books for adults who couldn't read, a newspaper was published with a very small word list, which had area news and also introduced a subtle element of competition between area schools.
The program grew in 1914. The governor created the Kentucky Illiteracy Commission to extend the program statewide with an aim to end illiteracy in Kentucky by 1920. I think they probably just missed.
Now, one of the schoolhouses that was in the Moonlight School program is on the campus of Morehead State University and is a historic site now called the Cora Wilson Stewart Moonlight School.
Okay, I like the moonlight nature of it. That's very neat.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't thought about when it was like, oh, it's at night. Okay. Well, I hadn't thought about how are they going to get there because we have lights everywhere. It's never really night here, but back then it night was night.
Now, another thing that founder Cora Wilson Stewart did, she became concerned during World War I when Selective Service determined that 700,000 men were illiterate. So she developed what was called the Soldier's First Book to help military recruits to read.
That's fantastic. She's doing a lot of really neat things. Wow.
You know who's else teaching people to read and doing really neat things?
Is it
The
the
village.
Is it the village? Is it the village? I was going to guess the village.
It's the village of Al Masmiya Al Saghira. Population of 530, a little bit fewer than Kentucky. Established in the second half of the 19th century by Al Harani clan. And then they left because of feuds with some of the other residents.
In 1945, statistics for the population said 530. Mentioned all the land. There were 147 dunhams were used for citrus and bananas. A dunham is basically a unit of area equivalent to an English acre. There we go. And they had 7 small shops, and children attended school there as well, where they learned to read.
Mm-hmm. Now, the town was captured ultimately in 1984 by Israel, as were other towns around, and looks like it took pretty much over the entire town. According to a quote here, virtually no trace of the village remains. It has been incorporated into the state of Israel. The site is overgrown with weeds, tall grasses, and a scattering of eucalyptus trees.
I guess I didn't think eucalyptus trees were there. They seem like a wholly Australian thing, right? Like a eucalyptus tree, but...
No, there's like eucalyptus trees in California, too.
Huh. California, the Australia of America.
That's right. So, yeah.
This is a tough one because while small towns do really, really well, so do educators. Surprisingly well. Really, really well. And now it's basically 2 heavy hitters against each other, and I don't know who's going to get the knockout.
Well, I can tell you who I'm voting for. Moonlight School, you don't need to be able to read to listen to this podcast, and that's why I'm moving you on as my vote to the next round of
The ultimate turn jump Agram.
It's a great tagline. Listen to the podcast. It's easier than reading, and you'll learn less.
Yes, let's do this.
Moonlight Schools as well. There's a lot of cool things there that I learned that I will probably repeat to other people later, and it's just a cool name. So yeah, Moonlight School you get my vote.
All right, Moonlight School. I hope you can teach Rob to read or me to speak, and you move on to the next round.
The ultimate turn jump Agram.
I got that immediately back at me.
Well, that's okay.
Never striking co-host.
Less talking, more intro.
All right, learn my lesson.
I say, would you by chance have any round 8?
In round 8, we have Isaac Scott Hathaway against Maurice Behart. It
Okay,
looks
2
like
gentlemen.
we have 2 artists.
Very skilled, very great names. Let's see which one of them will come out as the greater of the 2 in this round of the Ultimate Tournament of Everything.
Isaac Scott Hathaway, born April 4th, 1872, died March 12th, 1967, African-American artist who worked in different genres of art, including ceramics and sculpture.
Fantastic. He has his own museum, or at least it bears his name, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
His success had lasting effects. He taught at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff before moving to the Tuskegee Institute, where he became a founding member of the Department of Ceramics. He was also the first African-American to design a U.S. coin. During his life, he designed 2 U.S. coins. His first was the Booker T. Washington Memorial $50. That's a cool-looking $50, bearing the face of, obviously, Booker T. Washington. And his second was the George Washington Carver / Booker T. Washington commemorative $50. Also a cool-looking coin.
Yeah, and that's got two faces on it. I'm looking at it right now. It looks real clean, real sharp. And most of these artists are only throwing one guy on there. This must have been twice as difficult. Well executed.
Great job. Now, his competitor, standing on the opposite side of him, is Maurice Bahart, who is French-born dancer, choreographer, and opera director who ran the Bahart Ballet Lausanne in Switzerland, developed a popular expressionistic form of modern ballet, talking vast themes. Talking? Did I mean to say talking? Anyway, he was awarded Swiss citizenship after he died. It's like Switzerland's way of being like, we don't have any important people. Let's claim important dead people from other countries.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you would go ahead and do that upon someone's death, but let's go ahead and look at his birth real quick. Born in Marseille, France in 1927, the son of French philosopher Gaston Berger. He devoted his life to dance very early, studied under a number of very important dance teachers, and so it looks like he was part of a number of very significant dance performances.
Yeah, among his works is a thoroughly revised version of the Nutcracker. It looks like another character, Felix the Cat, is used in some of his stuff in some way. Kind of interesting. You ever just see somebody and you're like, okay, that guy's a diva? You can just tell. I think that's this guy.
Yeah, sometimes you read through an article and especially up against its competitor, you just kind of get further down and you get less and less into it. So, I think we should jump back over to Isaac Scott Hathaway, who, in my opinion, deserves two things. A, more time, and B, to move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I think he's clearly the better competitor, and I think we really should have a coin with him on it by now.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. But unfortunately, Isaac Scott Hathaway is not around to design it.
Ooh, that's true. We could find somebody else, right? Put him on a quarter or something. Get on that, America.
Get on that, America. And get on to the next round, Isaac Scott Hathaway.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Yeah.
This is a good pick. He definitely deserves to win.
Yeah, most definitely. We'll see how he fares in the next round against who knows who will face then.
Yeah, once we get through all 6.6 million Wikipedia articles, we can get into round 2.
Oh, by that point, it'll be billions of articles.
Well, it's not time for that, but you know what it is time for?
Tell me.
Play the music. Oh, it'll tell you. Play the music.
It's about time for round 9.
Round 9.
In round 9, we have Kirk, Franklin, and the family against Twin Planet. Now,
Twin?
You want to talk about Twin Planet first?
Yes, I would love to. Yes, I would love to. Twin Planet, Japanese marketing firm, talent agency. It's two things in one. Twin Planet, you might say. Headquartered in Shibuya, Tokyo. Now, it says it was found in 2006 and focuses on various marketing-related businesses. I assume they meant founded, but it could have been discovered lying somewhere in the undiscovered portions of Japan.
No, it's interesting. Whenever I see somebody that specializes in culture branding, I think a lot of that stuff is you're just making it up as you go, right? Like, is branding a real thing? I guess it's a thing, but also so nebulous that I feel like anybody could sound confident about it, and half the people would go, "Yeah, I think that totally works. We should totally do that."
Well, especially when you continue your services maintaining yourself as a talent agency, mainly for female fashion models and television personalities.
That's what it looks like. A Japanese idol girl group. They have a couple of those that they represent, actually. So those are apparently, it's like, I guess, a girl band? Girl band?
Yeah, seeing a number of projects like that. So, I think they're just trying to make the next Spice Girls.
Now, Twin Planet may represent a lot of notable Japanese talent, but they didn't represent the talent that is Kirk Franklin and the Family, the debut album released by none other than Kirk Franklin. Also, the debut album by Franklin in collaboration with his 17-voice formed choir, The Family. Okay, so they're not like his family. That's just what the choir's called. The choir's called The Family. Not to be confused with the other family where they break your knees. This is a different family where they sing gospel music.
They do sing gospel music. And on this day, they did so on July 25th, 1992, at Grace Temple, Seventh-day Adventist Church in Fort Worth, Texas. All of the songs written and arranged by Kirk Franklin. And the track Speak to Me includes a partial adaptation of a Stanley Brown Hezekiah Walker composition.
Now, the album was certified platinum November 4th, 1995. It made it to number 58 on the Billboard Top 200. It made it to number 6 on the top R&B and hip-hop albums, and it made it to number 1 in the top gospel albums.
Wow. It also looks as though, not this album, but do check it out, they've got a Christmas album.
Oh, Christmas album. Now,
Yep.
vocalists on in The Family included Jonathan Drummond, an American athlete and winner of a gold medal at the 2000 Summer Olympics.
Holy cow. Is there anything he can't do? You know what he probably couldn't do? Is join a Japanese girl idol band.
Probably not. You're right. Yeah, that's the obvious one. Why did I think of that?
No one can do everything, and hey, you got to have your limits. And it seems as though the limits of this Twin Planet article include everything that we've mentioned and nothing more. I just think that this is pretty much, it's pop music, which we need. But what we really need is that family funk and that gospel. And I got to check out that Christmas album. So I'm going to go ahead and put my vote down for Kirk Franklin and the whole family.
I absolutely agree with you. And you know what that means?
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Yeah, that's right. We've come to the end.
Oh, we have.
We've got things to think about. We've got things to listen to. And we know that the Bears still suck.
Thanks. Needed that. Yeah. No, we totally got it. We totally got to drag up things from round 3 over and over again. Great.
Well, if you want to see what gets dragged up next week, tune in for the very next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.